Hey everybody, this is Jesse B. Gilmore, agency transformation coach and founder of Niche in Control, creator of Leverage for Growth.
And I'm Lucas James, founder of Twiz.io, which scaled from $0 to $200,000 a month with my own agency.
We are the hosts of Leverage for Growth podcast agency leverage episodes. We know that in order to scale your agency successfully, there are multiple shifts that need to happen within the founder's mindsets, skill sets, and leadership styles. We are on a mission to interview marketing and PR agency owners on their journey to 6, 7, and 8 figures and leverage the lessons from their journey to save you time, energy, and money in order for you to get your agency to the next level. If you find value in these episodes, watch the case study video to learn more about Leverage for Growth and how we successfully scale agencies quickly at nicheincontrol.com/case study. That's nicheincontrol.com/case study. You are now listening to Leverage for Growth. Hey everybody, this is Jesse P. Gilmore, founder of Niche in Control and creator of Leverage for Growth. Welcome to the Agency Leverage Edition. Today I am here with Andrew Stallings, the founder of Athelo Group, an athlete marketing agency built around one simple observation. When brands and athletes team up for an effective partnership, everyone wins. Thanks for coming to our show today, Andrew.
Thanks, Jesse. Sincerely appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about the history and background of your agency?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think as most businesses to date somewhat start to be, the term side hustle and the Gary Vaynerchuk model, if you will, is kind of how I fell into this. For those not so familiar, a la 2015-ish, Gary Vaynerchuk is blowing up all of our social media platforms, telling all of us about jab, jab, right hook and how we need side hustles and selling and doing this. And around that same time, I was working 18 hours, at another agency, and then initially went brand side, doing all this, with the understanding of what I was always groomed to be, which is, say yes to everything. You'll go up the corporate ladder. Effort, is better than output. Effort is better than results. In the end of the day, just be that endurance person that keeps going. But what I quickly realized is that burnout is a real thing, and it pretty much hinders you on creativity and the ability to really take things to the next level. And it was around that time and that crossroads, probably around 2015, 2016, when a few buddies who I play hockey with, they were just like, yeah, we should have a side hustle. We should have a side business. And I was like, yeah. And a few Bud Lights later, it was like, okay, what is that? What is it? What are we going to do? And they were like, well, let's make a sports agency. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Like a sports agency. Can I be a sports agent? It was kind of the one question that you went right to Google, like, do I have to be a lawyer to be a sports agent? Anything like that. And I think you're seeing now more than ever that common answer is no, but you have to have your ass covered. Like you have to have that security net. You have to have a really good common understanding of law and practice and stuff like that. Luckily for me, I'm surrounded by an incredible team of lawyers in different practices, both here in North America and globally. But all that kind of shaped out to be something that was my goal to explore what a makeshift model of an agency could be. I was at Octagon for several years, and I got to see what the bigger agencies and models look like. Being at Anheuser-Busch a little bit, I got to sit in the room with a lot of other bigger agencies globally to see how they were structured. And I said, man, I really don't need 75 people on one account. I'm not managing, a $10 million piece of business. What do I really need? And I learned the gift of scale and helping out athletes at scale. So a lot of my friends were professional athletes in more niche rising sport properties. Around the same time was when second screen streaming and OTT platforms were becoming very popular. So I said, okay, action sports, motorsports, fitness, pickleball, as we're seeing today, they're becoming a bit more popular, and the consumers have massive buying power because of the ability to engage with them. So I said, okay, great. I can help brands come into these worlds because I'm going to have this relationship with them. I can speak the brand and the marketing language, build out toolkits, assets, etc. Boom. Got it. The other thing too, on the athlete side, traditionally, there would be very old school lawyers or former players that really didn't know what they were doing in terms of managing talent, managing those deals, and communicating effectively. And as somebody that sat on the media, the agency, and the brand side, I have a unique gift where I can understand, at least historically, what those individuals and stakeholders are looking for. So for me, I was able to be this center of excellence where I could help them and breed, a little bit more knowledge. But from the athlete side, I get it, what they need, what their wants, what their desires are. But I can help them unpack ideas in terms of how they want to position themselves beyond just financial success and competitive success in a lot of other areas and build out their brands like never before. So we took two words, athletes, opportunities, smashed it together to make a funky little run-on word that most people can't pronounce called Athelo. So it's already good marketing out of the gate. And we just let the snowball run downhill for almost the last 5 years. 20 athletes on retainer, over 130 brands on retainer. It's been a wild ride.
Wow. That's awesome. Was there if you talked about a couple different things, one of them being burnout in corporate and then making the side hustle and kind of doing that. And that's one of the things that if anybody's been following me for a long time, talking about burnout and making the jump. Can you talk a little bit about that process? Because maybe some people that are listening right now, they might be experiencing burnout and they don't really know it. What were some of the things that kind of made you realize that either you need to slow down or make a change?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was at one point where I was working at Octagon on the Anheuser-Busch account. And for those not in our walk of life or understanding some of these bigger agencies, they have what they call hero accounts, at least internally. And those are the accounts that every employee dreams of being on and being involved with. Anheuser-Busch for us was a very small account. But if you could find your way in there, you were going to be doing the coolest stuff. You were going to be traveling to the craziest places and getting to learn like never before. I remember I applied several times when rare opportunities came to be, to work on that account. And I finally was able to convince them to let me come on board as an account manager. And I was in Russia doing the Confederations Cup and FIFA World Cup activations. I spent a month in the Maldives on a deserted island with Chris Hemsworth and MIA for Corona. I got to do some of the craziest stuff in my mid-20s that I could never even imagine, and I got to call it work. The good and bad thing to that is that when your work becomes this roller coaster party ride and experience, it bleeds over into, again, finding the time management, in the day, because it just feels like you're battling with time zones and other people's calendars, wants, needs, desires. Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity, but it was a lot. It was an incredible amount of work. And, again, being North America based, a lot of my clients were in Australia. They were in Sri Lanka, Colombo, the Maldives, like I mentioned. So the time zones were brutal, not to mention dealing with a new girlfriend at the time, who's not my now wife, trying to balance out being a 25-year-old that's still traveling. It just took a toll on you. And it took a toll on me that is a little different than today, because, I was even on the phone with a colleague of mine before we started this podcast, Jesse, and I was telling her, it's Monday. I'm coming off a weekend where my parents were here to visit. My 1-year-old was a little sick, but he's fine now. It's a different type of fog and burnout that you have as a business owner, as a husband, as a young man in his mid-30s now, that I can't put into perspective except for the fact that it's paralyzing. And it's paralyzing to the sense that you just don't know what to do. You have so much going on, that just a little organization and a little guidance and a little help can really push you there. But when you're in this independent process of being a business owner and an entrepreneur and a leader, as we all know, and I'm sure many of your listeners have thought about this and learned about this over the time of you doing this, it's a lonely, lonely spot. And, when you throw in even the most minute area of paralysis, it's different than when you're 25 years old working for somebody else, because you almost feel like, as much as that pressure's coming down on you and it's like you could never do right, it's different. It's different in the sense that you don't feel like you will fail, or you almost are expecting failure every single day. When you're a business owner and entrepreneur, you can't think of failure. And you have to understand that failures equal great success. You have to learn from your failures to progress forward. There are no such things as crippling and paralyzing failures, because it will completely destroy what you're building in every sense of the term. So burnout, I've learned, comes in two separate forms, at least in the last 10 years of my professional career and personal life. And the way that I'm doing things today is really trying to separate, how can I remove myself from this quicksand? And I'm learning a run in the middle of the day, drinking more water, eliminating alcohol, all the stuff that we see on Twitter and everything else. And we're like, oh gosh, like these thought leaders trying to tell us, oh, how to be the best version of you. It gets annoying, and I get it, but they're not wrong. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop eating cheeseburgers all the time. No, but at the same time, I at least have the education to know what can help me be 1% better. And I think it will come to a point where we all have to figure out when to take that stuff a little bit more seriously. But those are kind of the two different types of burnout I've at least dealt with in the last 10 years or so.
Oh, that's awesome. Nothing's going to stop me from eating cheeseburgers either. I love it, man. And you've given a lot of different kind of like nuggets of wisdom throughout this. But if someone's kind of listening to you right now, I mean, you have 20 athletes, you have 130 brands that you're working with, and a lot of kind of changes and pivots that you've made along the way over the last 5 years. If you were to give some advice to somebody that might be maybe one or two steps before you, and maybe to help them either shortcut their way to success, saving them time, energy, or money, what advice would you give them? You could summarize what you already have, or maybe something new.
Success can be so broadly defined. And I think as I sit here today on Monday, April 3rd, 2023, success to me is to figure out how to get out of this paralysis phase and find that energy and that motivation to be able to make a dent in my workload today, to make a lot of the successes happen that I need this week, for a busy week ahead. Same to it. I think one of the worst things as a entrepreneur and business owner that I'm terrible at is my self-knowing addiction to technology, to my phone, to social media. As I mentioned several times, I have a 1.5-year-old. I have a beautiful wife who we have seen the test of time together. She's battled cancer. We've done all this stuff together. And it is very, very difficult when the biggest issues in your personal life are very much right in front of you. But we talk about that paralysis. That you should be putting your phone down more and spending more time and finding joy with your son and with your wife and those outlets in life. But you can't help it when the success and pressure of the world and how we're groomed to think that everybody's, if you put your phone down, there's someone out there doing 10 times more than you and putting in that extra hour of work. It is very, very, very difficult. And when that difficulty turns into an addiction, you just become, again, just stuck in a lot of ways. And you're stuck at this crossroads where, you could put your phone down, but you may not be fully there to spend time with your family or your wife. And I struggle with that immensely. I really do. So I think, for me, the one bit of advice that I don't hear too often, but it is really important, success can come and go. I live this very unique mental space day to day where I'm like, I could die at any second. I literally think in the sense that I could have a heart attack sitting here with you here today. As grim as that may sound to be, I've seen it happen to friends, family members, colleagues. So I'm, as morbid as it is, I'm ready for that. I'm okay with that. I'm content with that. So with all that being said, I need to be doing a better job of positioning my personal life over professional life, because I'm set with knowing that tomorrow may not come, but I'm also set with being confident enough that the next 10 years are at my disposal. It's this weird thing, where it's like kind of a pendulum shift every day rather. So for me, I always just say, make the most of today, make the most of these moments that you have. I never get enough time. And I know in 5 years, I'm going to resent myself for not being able to be there for my son as much as I have been, knowing that he's probably our only son. And a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs can relate to that. And I think the best ones are the ones that can offload their work and find that work-life balance and understand that, taking 30% margin out of your business to go hire somebody and really help you kind of find that happiness, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. So always know that, again, big dollar signs, numbers, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to make up for the time you have now with your friends, family, and your kids. So definitely invest into time for the here and now, 100%.
I feel like you've been listening to a lot of the Daily Leverage episodes. we talk about that kind of stuff all the time, and that's really key. Being here now, figuring out a way of making it to where your personal life has a higher priority, but still being able to make the business grow at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, man. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, or do you have any offers for them that they could take advantage of?
Yeah, I think our website is probably your one-stop shop destination, for everything that we do as an agency. www.athelogroup.com. For myself, A Stallings 88 across all social media platforms. I'm always a sucker for conversation. Anybody who reaches out and wants to, look for a mentor, wants to build a community of knowledge or education or anything like that. Community is big for me. It's the number one metric of success. The number one tool of success that's been a metric for me to get to where I am today is really leaning on the sense of community in everyone that I've met over the last 15 plus years of doing this. So please, feel free to reach out to me. I can't always guarantee I'll get back right away, but I really love connecting people, especially folks that have, again, good purpose and good drive and good reasoning behind anything that they do. Sometimes, I do get emails, someone's like, oh, I just got laid off and, are you hiring? And I'm like, it's a little short-minded, right? If you want to have a conversation and discussion and really bring a plan or a strategy to me and say, hey, could you poke holes into this? This is what I'm really trying to accomplish. And I respect someone in your position to do that. I learned that the hard way. I've had senior business people tell me for years, when I used to reach out, it was the reason that I suffered so much in corporate America, believe it or not, was I would always ask too many questions that didn't have enough meat on the bone. I would always just ask and reach for help because I was so insecure in myself. And I think being more confident and secure in what you're asking for and taking that to people, if you do that, the sky's the limit. So with that being said, please feel free to email me, hard-hitting questions. DMs are always open. More than happy to be an asset in any way that I can.
That's awesome. And for anybody that's listening, in the show notes, I will include links to Andrew and Athelo Group. And I just want to thank you very much for being on the show.
Sincerely appreciate the time again, Jesse. Thank you.
Agency owners, if you want to transform your agency to sustain and grow without your direct involvement, where you can stop working in the business and switch to working on the business, where you can regain control of your time, delegate effectively, get paid what you're worth, and have your team run the day-to-day, go to nicheincontrol.com/case study right now to learn more about Leverage for Growth. You can book a free strategy session with us to look at your systems, understand what needs to be done in order for you to scale, and get a free strategic plan for the next year to live the life of entrepreneurship that you've always dreamed about. Go to nicheincontrol.com/case study. That is nicheincontrol.com/case study now.